They had to do it. They said they were going to do it at the start of the torch relay when they announced plans a year ago. The fact that they've scaled it back to just one day, on one hand, might indicate their sensitivity to the way this stop is being interpreted politically. It's a way for them to have the relay and then move on to another location without spending 3 days in Tibet as once planned.
Who is this stage of the relay designed for? Was this a message to Tibetans? Was it a message to Chinese people on the homeland? How do you interpret that?
Well, I think it's all of those. On the surface, it's the torch relay coming to Tibet. It's bringing the spectacle, supposedly the excitement and spontaneity of the torch relay, which we're not seeing in the stop in Lhasa. But to bring that excitement of the Olympics on the surface. But then when you go a little bit deeper, I think you can see the Chinese were very insistent about having this portion of the relay to put their imprint on Tibet, to say this is sovereign China, this is part of the country, and Tibet take notice of that. The rest of the world take notice of that.
Well, you saw the scenes of the torch making its way through Tibet. I mean, looking at those scenes, how did it compare to previous legs?
Very unspontaneous, very structured, very controlled. You could see some crowds at the start of the relay cheering, waving flags, but as the relay progressed about 10 or 15 minutes into the relay, the streets were empty on either side. And the runners were just smiling, waving, doing their high fives at the cameras following in front of them. There were no spectators. And the spontaneity, the excitement, the camaraderie that you feel in past torch relays, just absent apparently, I think, in Lhasa right now.
And that's what I wanted to move on to in terms of broadening it out beyond the previous legs for the Beijing Games, how the relay in itself is compared to other Olympics.
Well, it's certainly bigger, it's more controversial. We have never had an Olympic torch relay that has generated so much controversy, so much conflict, and that's very unusual, and I think a lesson to be learned for planning future torch relays. The size, the complexity certainly is bigger than past torch relays. I mean, we're talking about the torch, the Olympic flame, moving over a period of nearly 5 months, and that's a length of time that's been unheard of. For it to cross China the way it has, it's a very complicated operation to carry out. Generally, the Chinese have done a pretty good job of it if you look at controlling. You look at keeping it on course, on time, as it travels across the country. They've done a pretty good job of it.
Do you think that what the scenes we've seen play out in places like San Francisco and Paris, and certainly the consternation that's been caused by the torch going through Tibet, do you feel it's tarnished the image of the torch relay going forward for other Olympics?
Yeah, I think it really has been a very cautionary tale for future cities hosting the Olympic Games, such as London, which is now in the process of figuring out what it really wants to do when it does get hold of the flame in 2012. It is something that the IOC is taking under advisement because they don't want to expose such a powerful symbol, such a beloved symbol, to this kind of political to and fro. It's really unseemly to put the torch, to put the Olympic rings in this kind of crossfire. And I think that people will be much more careful about that in the future, avoiding this kind of thing.